try replying email when talking on your cell phone or walking while reading notes. In these fast-paced societies, we are all like a race against time while aiming for efficiency. Living in these bustling cities, people from different categories have pressure to gather more information, solve more problems, deliver more results, and do more faster in a tandem with other activities. Because of that, multitasking has become the new normal. Actually, multitasking is an apparent human ability to perform more than one task or activity over a short period, which it basically means people could do more than one thing at a time. While when people try to multitask, it requires the brain to switch from one task to another task rapidly.
However, have you ever thought that you could benefit from multitasking? A recent business review from Harvard reflects that multitasking may lead to nearly 40% drop in productivity, 10% drop in IQ, and increase in stress. While the study from the University of Florida found that multitasking could improve the speed of work while it does not affect their cognitive performance. The two different results may be because the usefulness of multitasking is determined by different factors. One of the reception is gender will affect one's ability to multitask.
Perhaps it might be true. A research from the University of Glasgow found that males take 8% longer time than females to respond in a multitasking experiment. Those researchers suggest women may use more time to think at the beginning, while men will be more impulsive and jump in quickly. The action taken by women could eventually benefit them to work under a stressful and complex situation. Here comes the question: is female actually have better efficiency than male while multitasking? To find out the answer, we interviewed some university students randomly. Through the interview, most of the people find ambiguous towards the linkage between gender and multitasking. How would you manage your tasks daily, multitasking or do things one at a time?
Multitasking.
Maybe multitasking.
Do you think there's a linkage between gender and multitasking?
Yes.
Maybe.
Do you think females are better multitaskers than males?
I'm not sure, but I can do so many things at the same time. I can finish them so fast.
I'm not sure.
So, is there any linkage between gender and multitasking? And what is the relations between multitasking and gender? In diverse and numerous studies and publications, multitasking seems to make our lives more productive and efficient. However, some scholars hold a completely different opinion. They believe that multitasking may decrease the efficiency of our brain and the strength of memory. According to Daniel Levitin, neuroscientists at Stanford and MIT both point out multitasking is not a realistic way as our brain is not supposed to be multitasking. Also, multitasking may lead to depleted the nutrients in our brain and result in aggressive and impetuous behavior. Therefore, a concentration game is carried out for testing the ability and drawbacks of multitasking on males and females. We invited 20 volunteers to participate in the multitasking experiment. When the experiment starts, participants will play a multitasking game which demands a high context of the ability of multitasking. Simultaneously, participants need to remember a sentence when they are in the games. Meanwhile, a control group is used for testing the accurate standard of productivity. The control group will play a single task game rather than multitasking and do not need to memorize sentence when playing the game. After the experiment, we conduct an interview and a survey with the participants for their feelings and wills of the experiment and also multitasking.
It was so difficult to handle the game and remember the sentence at the same time. I am so tired after the game.
It is so hard. I just focusing on the game but not even care about what the sentence is. And it is a big challenge to me.
I was exhausted, and I have never thought that the experiment could be so difficult like this. And it required all of my concentration and burnt my brain.
This is one of the most challenging parts for me. I feel like the game has used all my brain power to deal with the game and the memorizing part.
By summarizing the results from the experiment, questionnaires, and interviews, we find that both male and females have difficulties in focusing on different tasks simultaneously. In the surveys, up to 80% female students and 50% male students think they are multitasker and spend about 3 to 5 hours and 1 to 3 hours per day in multitasking respectively. Besides, most of students somewhat agree that multitasking can increase the productivity in daily life. However, up to 90% students strongly disagree that multitasking improves the quality of life, since multitasking increases the chance of making mistakes. Also, a majority of students do not remember the sentence in the experiment. Interestingly, although both male and female students feel difficult to concentrate on different tasks at the same time, female students have a better performance in the multitasking game relatively, as the graph clearly shows that female and male students respectively got 63 and 54 points on the average, while male and female students from the control group scored 81 and 78. To find out the reason, we must first understand how our brain works in dealing with multitasking. Whenever we need to concentrate, the prefrontal cortex, a region located on the front part of our brain, replaces its role. This region spans left and right sides of the brain and is responsible for complex behavior, such as decision-making and planning. The prefrontal cortex helps to coordinate our ideas and actions with our goal to perform the task. When we concentrate on a single task, both sides of the prefrontal cortex work together. You might wonder why female is better than male at multitasking. The study released by National Academy of Science can explain the reason. These pictures show the network of different regions in the brain of male and female respectively. Obviously, females have more connections between both sides of the prefrontal cortex. On the contrary, males have better connections between the front and back part of the brain rather than both sides. Also, males demonstrate high activities in the individual areas of brain, especially cerebellum, which is responsible for coordination of body movement. What does this mean? This indicates that female is better at multitasking as they have more connections between the both sides of the brain, which can coordinate the message from different tasks effectively. In turn, make female have a better performance in multitasking in daily life, while male is relatively better at focusing on a single task. Some psychologists also suggest that female has a higher multitasking ability because of evolutionary factors and more opportunities to practice multitasking, as women needed to take care of children and manage their family simultaneously in the past. These features has been passed down from generation to generation.
Even though women do better than men in multitasking, multitasking can actually affect our productivity. Researchers at Stanford University have found that when people perform different tasks at the same time, the ability to memorize information is greatly diminished, in turn decrease our productivities. Therefore, we should properly manage our time in daily life and avoid multitasking for a long time.